Yo, what's up guys? I got another deck for you guys. Underworlder 1v1 deck. So I'm gonna show you guys my cards now. I like Underworlders for 1v1 decks because Underworlders tend to have pretty moderate to substantially high stats compared to any other tribe. So I go with them mostly for 1v1s, as well as their abilities and their energy tend to correlate more so to 1v1s. So their energy is also higher. They tend to be higher in energy, so I would say more so like 55 plus, 60 plus maybe. So like Lord Von Blue, Kaor, and such. Yeah, so Underworlds are probably my top when it comes to 1v1 creatures. So you guys know Takinam, or at least Takinam the Shadow Knight. Takinam the Shadow Knight has strike 10, so this, like I said, Underworlders tend to have better abilities that gear towards 1v1s, and Takinam is dealing a substantial, has the ability to deal a substantial amount of damage in 1v1 situations. So she has that music ability that lets her re-roll her strike 10. Her strike 10 allows her to deal an extra 10 damage with the first attack, and then she can re-roll that again for 1 music cost. So the next attack made by Takinam counts as the first attack. So on Takinam, I'm rocking Telebracers. I think Telebracers, I want to put a lot of emphasis on this. Telebracers are very substantial, I think, for 1v1 situations, because when you have Telebracers, you can literally have this one battle, this one combat, always in your favor because you have Telebracers. Telebracers allow you to have access to the location in your deck. It allows you to swap the active location to the location of your deck. So as soon as if the opposing player has the advantage, you just change the location immediately, unless somehow they mitigate your Telebracers, like such as facing down battle gear or something like that, or destroying battle gear. Then they can't really do anything about that, or a location that deactivates battle gear, and that's the only way that you can counter a Telebracer. But Telebracers are pretty substantial for 1v1 situations, and that's why I'm using it. So my Takinam can always have the advantage. So I'm using Telebracers and locations in combination with Takinam that makes Takinam have the chance to hit harder and gain more music counters, so I can reuse this music counter ability, or I can use her music as well as her music cost ability, her music card as well as her music cost ability. So I'm gonna go to the music card. The one music card that I'm using for Takinam, or for at least this deck, is Cannon of Casualty, because in 1v1 situations you need to be able to do substantial amount of damage, and Cannon of Casualty is perfect for that. 20 damage off rip. So I'm using Cannon of Casualty for my one music. And I'm gonna go over to my locations now. So like I said, my locations are supposed to be good in combination with my creature and my battle gear. It's supposed to suit them. So my first location is Rabanal Ridge. Takinam has air, and this location gives creatures with air elements the opportunity to grab 3 attack cards from their deck, discard 2 of them, and keep 1 of them. You need big damage for 1v1 situations, and that's what this location offers me, is that big damage. Then I'm using Sands of the Unseen. Sands of the Unseen, it gives creatures with air Invisibility Strike 10. This stacks with Takinam. Invisibility Strike 10 gives the creature the ability to deal 10 extra damage with their first attack. Takinam already has that, so I get 20. And if I can find out if I can use that one music on Takinam and play this ability that Takinam has to deal to re-roll the strike 10, I can deal an extra 20 because of the invisibility strike 10. Because it counts as her first attack. So I'm stacking that with Takinam, Sands of the Unseen. And by the way, forgot to mention, I have 2 copies of Rabanal Ridge in my deck, and I have 2 copies of Sands of the Unseen in my deck as well. So I have 2 of those, so that would be my 4 out of the 10 cards that I'm using in my location. Then we're using Eye of the Maelstrom, which makes each player discard 1 Muja card. So I don't need that entire damage that's going to be coming from the Cannon of Casualty, because then I can just swap off to the damage that Takinam is able to allocate to me. So this is just really a punishment for both. It's a punishment for both of us, but not so much of a punishment for me. It's more so a punishment for the opposing player. So I'm just trying to put my opponent in a more unfortunate disposition rather than myself. Now, my 5th location is the Shaka or Chime Grid. And this location allows me to just gain a Mujic counter. So I can use this to re-roll Takinam's ability and just deal extra damage, or I can use it to re-roll that ability and cast my Cannon of Casualty. So whatever fits the situation better, just in case like my enemy happens to mitigate Mujic abilities somehow, I can still have Takinam's ability, or if he mitigates my creature's ability somehow, I can still have Takinam, or I can still have my Cannon Casualty. So this situation just fits both. So that's what I like about this Underworld creature, is that I still have abilities that I can go to. That's what I like about Takinam, at least, is that I still have alternatives with Takinam. I'm still able to do something pretty substantial with this creature itself. And then we have Mipidin Valley. I was about to say Oasis. So creatures without air do not flip up their battle gear at the start of combat. Now that's just substantial. That's self-explanatory. I don't really have to go into that. That's just big for 1v1 situations. You're pretty much putting your opponent in a very unfortunate disposition there. And Stone Pillar, which just, the conditions really don't matter too much. Just as long as I'm an Underworlder, I get to get my abilities pretty much for free, because mine's cost 1 as it is. So less than 1 is 0. If you subtract 1 from 1, it's going to be 0. So I pay nothing for Cannon of Casualty, and I pay nothing for Takinam's Mujic ability. So I can just cast and just cast. And Lake Kinapo. Creatures, this is really just for me. This really provides no disadvantage to the enemy. This is just so I won't really have to struggle, because I have a lot of fire attack cards that are really geared towards fire, which I'll show you guys later. So creatures cannot gain or lose element types. I just need to hold on to my fire so I can keep dealing large amounts of damage. So that's the last card in my location deck. So now I'm going to be showing you guys my attack cards. And the first one will be Malevolent Blast. And you guys can read that one for yourself. The next one will be Flame Breach. Gear Grind. I really like Gear Grind. Turn all face up, battle gear face down. Puts my opponent at a disadvantage. I don't need my battle gear for the entire fight. I just need it for the at the beginning of the fight, because that's the only time my telebracers really matter, is at the beginning of a battle. So Psycho Drain, I'm running 2 Dry Liquids, 2 Confusions. I'm running 4 Consuming Flames, 2 Air Assaults, 1 Hampering Winds, 1 Electric Web, 1 Power Pulse, and 1 Plasma Arrow. I really like Plasma Arrow because opposing engaged creature may not be healed. It allows me to finish up my opponent pretty swiftly because he can't mitigate my damage anyway. I'm just hammering through him and he has to just eat it. So that is my 1v1 Underworlder deck. Tell me what you guys think of it. Anything I should add or change? Anything that could be better? Any opinions that you guys might have? about the creatures I use. But like I said, I prefer Underworlders when it comes to 1v1 decks, because Underworlders just tend to have more higher stats. Their stats tend to be higher, and they have more energy, and their abilities geared towards 1v1 combat. They're not collaborative creatures. Most Underworlders are not collaborative creatures. They do things on their own. You know, it's kind of like the TV show. They're just monsters on their own. They're powerful in their own way. So yeah. But yeah, let me know. Oh wait, I got one more thing to add actually. I would throw, if I really want to be a nasty player, I would dump 2 Carnival. I would take out Sands of the Unseen and my Ravenel Ridge. I would take out 1 copy of those and add in both of these Carnival Confusions. And that's just to be a nasty player and to deal like substantial amounts of damage. So yeah, if you guys don't know about Carnival Confusion, extra damage if you flip a coin and it's on heads, and tails, it deals 0 damage. So I can literally one-shot if I want to with Talking On. And that's the whole point of Carnival Confusion, is just to deal that substantial damage and, you know, get that big damage out there with Talking On. But okay, so that's it in the video now. Catch you guys around.